Snow White apparently became the most hated movie ever, and I'm not entirely surprised, especially with everything leading up to it. I kind of anticipated that Disney might just scrap the whole thing and take it for a loss, because that's how Hollywood accounting works sometimes, because then you can wind up having huge tax write-offs. But apparently they're going through with it, and everybody's hating on it, and I'm not surprised, especially with how some of the actresses were treating the film even before it released a trailer. So let's see.
After everything that's happened, you'd think it'd be impossible for the upcoming Snow White film to fall any further, but somehow Disney found a way. And with the recent release of the official trailer, the Snow White disasters got even worse. Now, Snow White has been played up as one of Disney's biggest projects, and as such, you'd think they go above and beyond with the marketing. However, as we all know, it's been an absolute train wreck from the beginning, ever since the main co-stars trashed on the original character.
Yeah, calling him a stalker when it's a wholesome story. Granted, the grim fairy tale version is a little more intense, but the original Disney version, it's just a sweet story. It's a princess story. That's all it's supposed to be. Stop amping everything up to make it some sort of stupid political statement. Let kids enjoy a movie.
And all during this build-up, audiences barely got a peek at the official trailer. It was all just these teasers that never really amounted to anything. Most were expecting Disney to publish the official Snow White trailer alongside the release of Wicked, as not only would it be a smart marketing move, but it made the most sense thematically. And while that's exactly what Disney did, their strategy was unconventional. The trailer and official poster were only available in a few theaters. For just over a week, promotions didn't go any further. No one could find the official new trailer anywhere. It took someone leaking a recording of it before the rest of the internet could even get a glimpse. But still, not even the leak got Disney to post the trailer on its official accounts.
That's super weird. They're definitely trying to just sweep the entire movie under the rug and then later release it on Disney Plus and probably make no big deal about it because they know it's not going to go well.
It's almost like the studio was desperate to keep their trailer out of the public eye, like they were trying to avoid ridicule for as long as possible, especially seeing how much of a disaster it had been already. Even Disney had to face the music at some point, and on the 3rd of December they finally posted the official trailer to YouTube, and the world would quickly let the studio know exactly what they thought of it. Now, at the time of making this video, the trailer currently has around 660,000 more dislikes than likes, and that—
Jesus Christ. For them to hate that trailer so much. I mean, it is the internet. People react a little more extreme, but still.
That number is still massively climbing. But remarkably, one of the only redeeming things about this entire fiasco is that Disney actually left the comments on the trailer. And it's almost more entertaining than anything Disney's put out recently. Some wonderful gems included. At this point, the monetization of the video is going to earn Disney more revenue than the movie itself. And they finally did it. They made a movie nobody is going to pirate.
That's the harshest one I could possibly think of. Just nobody's even willing to steal your movie for free.
Those who haven't seen the trailer may wonder if it's really as bad as the comments are making out to be, and we can say with certainty that it may be even worse. The trailer makes Snow White feel like an unholy amalgamation of all the worst aspects of modern Disney: the bad CGI, the oversaturated colors, the preachy woke actors, the character assassinations to tell a more modern story because apparently old fairy tales can't teach valuable lessons anymore. And
the classics are classics because they have a timeless quality. If you're trying to update it for modern audiences, it's just making it worse 90% of the time. If anything, some slight updates for modern audiences might be improving the pacing of the movie or getting a little more in-depth with certain characters. It shouldn't be completely altering the fabric of what made this story so timeless.
all of this has been rolled into one massive controversial mess. It seems like the trailer is trying to tell two stories, the original Disney tale and its modernized counterpart. As a result, it all just feels very disconnected. Disney's designed the film to look like the original movie and included moments from it, but there's no room for any of it in their modern retelling. And it leaves you wondering how they plan to fit the old hag tricking Snow White into eating the apple and Snow White bravely confronting the queen in the same story. The one doesn't work with the other, unless of course they're hoping nostalgia will draw crowds and plan to swap them once they're in their seats. It just
I would not be surprised if it's just a bait and switch. It's something that is timelessly worked and will get them to pad their revenue, which is all they care about because they're a giant corporation. Why else would they care about anything?
It seems like nothing about any of this makes any sense. And this is all made worse by the fact that they use horrendous CGI. It feels like Disney took a scalpel to the original movie, but rather than carefully carving it into something new, it hacked away at this with reckless abandon. Every bit of animation feels oversaturated, artificial, and just lifeless. While the creatures move around and pull expressions similar to their 2D counterparts, there's just no life to them. None of the magic that Walt Disney originally thought of. They're essentially just glorified plushies. And
it's really hard to make something feel as endearing in CGI as it does in more hand-drawn animation. That's a difficult thing to master. Almost like maybe Disney shouldn't be remaking all of their classics with CGI and real people.
The dwarfs are even worse. Knowing the whole scandal about the dwarfs to begin with Peter Dinklage even pressuring Disney not to use dwarf actors, it was originally supposed to be 7 diverse magical dwarfs. But now seeing the huge backlash to that, their faces are an unfortunate combination of animation and hyper-realism, and the result's terrible. It's hard to believe that a studio like Disney with all its resources could have such terrible CGI. This is the same studio responsible for producing.
Because CGI is expensive, and Disney knows you're going to go see the movie anyways. So what they do is they skimp on the CGI, don't put as much time or money or effort into it, and they know it doesn't matter because you're still going to buy the ticket and you're still going to go see it and they're still going to make their money. So really, they're just making sure that their return on investment is better.
Producing Narnia, and yet somehow even Narnia, an almost 20-year-old film with a smaller budget and less advanced technology, has better CGI. It's a real wonder how Disney went from designing a realistic lion with natural facial expressions to an over-cartoonized turtle. Knowing the amount of hate the film's already got just from the actresses alone, Disney also seems to have really abandoned the production value here. And it's not just the animals and dwarfs that feel artificial. The sets look very obviously green screened and something about the costumes feels off. They seem almost cheap and plastic, like toys designed for children rather than set pieces for a multi-million-dollar movie. The people are the only things that don't feel like they were pulled out of a cartoon. And as a result, they just look out of place. The only person who doesn't seem to look out of place in the trailer was the old hag. Now I know it's meant to be a kids movie and children may not be worried about the smaller details as much, but kids still deserve good content and so do adults. And Disney has become so reliant on CGI in the last few years that their projects just seem so lazy. You don't even have to go that far back to see how much the over-reliance on CGI has changed the complete quality of the studio as a whole. And you know it's just this corporate.
Honestly, you see this in every aspect of what Disney is doing lately. Even in their theme parks, they're trying to crank out more cheap things to just rake in a little more cash. The Disney Imagineers is what they used to be called. I don't know if they're still called that, but the people that would develop new things for the Disney theme parks really had to innovate and come up with some amazing stuff. Now, they just kind of throw in the same stuff you could find at any theme park and don't innovate at all because it doesn't matter. They did one cool thing where they have the Spider-Man doing the flip in their Marvel area, but everything else they were just like phoning it in. They don't really care.
Soulless board at the top of the company, looking to cost cut and make as much profit from this stuff as possible. Exactly. I mean, you just look at the difference between Lily James's dress in Cinderella and Zegler's in the new trailer. There's absolutely no contest. And the fact that there's barely a...
Honestly, I've seen better cosplay of Snow White than that. And not even from top tier cosplayers.
10-year difference between the two films is devastating. Not even the acting can save this abomination of a film, and in some cases is actually contributing to its failure. While Rachel Zegler is currently one of the most disliked Disney actresses, due to her terrible interviews last year, her role isn't actually unearned. She can deliver the lines well, and there's no denying that she can sing. However, Gal Gadot's performance as the evil queen leaves much to be desired. The thing about Disney villains is that they're meant to be dramatic, larger than life, and very fun to watch. No matter how evil they might be, you just can't help but enjoy every moment they're on screen. It's because you just know that the actors behind them were probably having the best time. They also have undeniable talent and presence. Even when hidden behind the facade of a cartoon lion, Jeremy Irons commands the room. Be Prepared is one of the most well-loved songs from The Lion King, because he and Jim Cummings put their all into the performance, which is a huge contrast to Gal Gadot, who really doesn't seem to care about this movie anymore, all while secretly hating her co-star and having no real presence for the character of the evil queen.
She is a horrible actress, according to that. But hating your own co-star is definitely gonna, like, you're gonna feel it on set. You're gonna feel it throughout the movie. And every interview I've seen with Rachel Zegler has not gone well. She seems so wildly out of touch, and it comes across in every aspect. And it's not just like, oh, she's a Hollywood actress out of touch with an average American. It goes far beyond that. And it's so hard to get past it sometimes. They should really just keep her from doing interviews or get her some serious PR training. But honestly, sometimes Disney especially likes the controversy, because the more controversy means more clicks and means more people are going to go check it out just for the controversial nature.
Character is meant to be regal, cold, and calculating, someone so obsessed with her own beauty that she's willing to command the death of her own stepdaughter. Someone who loses that beauty because her obsession drives her to sacrifice it just so that she can rob someone else of theirs. But there doesn't seem to be any of that obsession in Gadot's version of the evil queen. While we could chalk this up to the fact that they've changed some aspects of the story, it's mostly because of Gal Gadot's delivery. She seems more stiff and just irritated that her stepdaughter has opinions, and her obsession with her beauty has become more surface level vanity. Just based on the trailer, we can tell that Gal Gadot's evil queen orders Snow White's death, and it will probably have very little intimidation behind it. In less than 2.5 minutes, Disney seems to have destroyed their most prized creation, the original film that started it all for Disney, and it seems like nobody on the set even cares about the film, with most of the actors seemingly hating the original characters.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, because what's wrong with, because true love is so evil, right? You shouldn't want to have good relationships with people and love each other. No, you should just all be leaders and be able to conquer everything and dominate the world.
And the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
And the production crew constantly changing what's actually going to happen in the movie. Since being cast, Rachel Zegler has been one of the studio's biggest problems. She's been at the center of numerous controversies and gone out of her way to make enemies with people with much more power than her, and even her own co-star. But unfortunately for Disney, her latest scandal wasn't a spat with a more popular celebrity or even the characters like she did previously. This time, she decided she would take on more than half of her country. Now, whether you're left or right wing, it doesn't really matter here. It's all about virtue signaling Hollywood, which is why when Trump won the election recently, Zegler was not happy, but not for any normal reasons. Showing that she needed to prove to the world that she was on the right side of history, she took to her Instagram and wrote a strongly worded story about how disappointed and heartbroken she was over the country's decision, calling Trump a threat to democracy and finishing off her post with a wish that Trump and his supporters would never know peace, no matter which.
Look, you can be on either side of the aisle, but if you're like, oh, I hope that everybody that supported this person doesn't know peace in their life, and you're somebody that's in the public eye that depends on people to view your content, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Which side of the political aisle you're on, this is a pretty strong statement for a mainstream actor. Not
Exactly.
really the sort of thing you want from a woman playing a Disney princess, as more than half the country were understandably angered by Zegler's words, and started calling for her to be fired, which isn't the first time that people have called for this.
Although, that's a little ironic, because one side will constantly talk about, both sides talk too much about cancel culture being a big issue, and then of course the second somebody gets outspoken, cancel them. If you don't like her opinion, just don't go see the movie. That's it. If you don't like her as an actress or what she puts out, just don't go see the movie. If you go see it out of spite, just to complain about it later, Disney doesn't care, because you know what they got? They got your money for going to see the movie. They don't care whether that money was due to you hating it or loving it. You still paid for it.
After this, people suspected that Disney sent her a very stern email, as Zegler quickly returned to Instagram to deliver a half-hearted apology. She explained that she let her emotions get the best of her, and was committed to contributing positively towards a better tomorrow. The apology is very carefully worded, as if Disney had told her exactly what to say. However, no one else was buying it. Zegler had shown her true colors once again, and after many forced apologies, nobody was buying it anymore. But it wasn't just hurting Snow White's chances of success, it was also poking—
I even saw one of the comments about how Gina Carano, or Serrano, or however you pronounce her last name, was canceled for way less, and that's pretty true. And frankly, I like that actress a lot more.
Holes in Disney's paper-thin arguments over its integrity, as there's been far too many scandals to count with Disney in recent years, and we've actually made several videos in the past discussing just this alone. And Disney, seeing the backlash they've got to all their virtue signaling stuff, are now trying to reel it in, but it seems like they're losing control.
Yeah, they're going to virtue signal and try and pretend like they're such a holier-than-thou company, but then when one of their own restaurants gets somebody killed, they try to say, well, you signed up for Disney Plus, so you can't sue us. And then it makes the entire country be like, wait, what? Disney said that?
Of all of this, which is why many suspect that Disney is once again bracing itself for a rough start to 2025. This comes after many years of disaster, as money has just been going down the drain for the company recently. Now, of course, Disney is notorious for having big budgets for its films. It dedicates thousands of hours and millions of dollars to projects that people love. However, it seems like as the cost of projects has gone up, the quality has also taken a nosedive, as we can quite clearly see with Snow White. According to Forbes, production costs have jumped up to $269.4 million, and that was just because of reshoots after the backlash over Disney's replacements for the dwarfs and other elements of the movie. This time, the studio can only blame itself. While Disney was forced to admit they'd overspent their budget, it refused to admit defeat. A $55.5 million reimbursement from the UK government gave the studio a bit of leeway, but the cost of the film was still insane. And the crazy thing is that these aren't even the final numbers. And yet, by looking at the trailers and the reception to it online, it seems like this movie is going to be yet another giant train wreck for the studio. For almost 2 years now, Disney has spent so much money on reshoots, post-production, and marketing just for this movie. So it's safe to assume that by the time Snow White makes it onto the big screen, its total cost will be well over $300 million. Because of the drama surrounding the upcoming movie, most doubt it will even break even, much less profit. To put into perspective, The Little Mermaid suffered a $5 million loss, and this was despite having a lead actress that was at least likable. Meanwhile, Zegler appears to be one of the main reasons people are sworn off watching Snow White, not to mention the huge list of all the other things. With this in context, it's easy to understand why they avoided releasing the official trailer and poster for so long. Arguably, the best thing Disney can do now is accidentally lose all the footage from the project and use it as a tax write-off.
They're still going to use it as a tax write-off, because they're probably going to lose some money, at least on the initial release. They'll be able to come out with it later on Disney Plus and tout that they got good numbers or some BS. But in actuality, they're probably going to lose money on it, but they're not going to lose as much as you would probably hope.